Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life.
All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night. This is Art, continuing with our Call of Cthulhu solo play. I gotta be honest with you, I don't think this was the original plan. Oops, I just moved my chair on my arm. I don't think this was the original plan, but we got on the mics our recording night, and it just had been a hell of a week for a lot of us. And so we just once again shot the shit and hung out. So you're stuck with me for another session of Call of Cthulhu. Hopefully that's okay. What I will say, and I don't know this for certain, I think there's a chance that we are getting near the end. I don't know if this will be the last session. There's a part of me that kind of hopes it is, just because, I don't know, it's a session 7. I mean, that feels like a good run. And, we're at Antarctica. I feel like this feels like the climax, the culmination of what we've been doing. So I'm hoping we're getting there. So if you remember last time, we're still playing Ernest Holt. He's up here in the corner. And he stowed away on the ship heading, I forget the name of the ship, but he stowed away, I think in the engine room, made some friends down there, and they helped him sort of keep it going and make it all Sorry, just something got caught in my throat out of nowhere. And, made it possible for him to get to the Antarctic base camp. So we left it here at entry 520, I think. The expedition camps at point D. We're going to open up the map just so we can see what they're talking about. I'll move this over here. Let's see if we can make this a little bigger just to get a better view of what's going on. There we go. Okay. The expedition camps at point D, which is right here on the coast. The weather holds, it's summer. 3 trips are planned, departing simultaneously and each lasting 2 to 3 weeks. Trip A will explore unknown portions of the mountains toward the pole. Okay. Each party will use the Trip B heads north to establish area for further camps. Okay. And then Trip C crosses the mountains and heads towards the mysterious area reported by the lake. Okay. Each party will use one of the Dornier planes. If you're Holt, we are, or Grunwald and not a prisoner, you can choose one of the parties and join it at the listed entry. If you're not, choose a party and then choose one of these skills. Okay. Okay, so we're Holt. We're good to go. We're not a prisoner. So we have to decide where we want to go. I'm coming into this cold. I don't know what each of these means. One thing I want to so the whole premise of this story is that there's this magical device that's going to flip the poles and then melt Antarctica. I mean, the only thing is, this is something I don't know. Is one of the poles colder than the other? Because in my mind, they're both really cold. So just flipping the poles doesn't accomplish what I believe the evil plot is trying to do, which is to thaw out the ice. But, maybe there's enough of a temperature differential between the poles that it makes enough of a difference. I don't know. So let's see. So we have to choose one of the 3. Trip A explores unknown portions of the mountains toward the pole. B is setting up a base camp further north. And then C crosses the mountains and heads towards the mysterious area reported by the lake. So this is an interesting question. I don't know why you would choose some of these choices, I guess. If the story is truly exploring the craziness that's going on, I don't know why you would choose the first 2 options, I guess. But I'm just trying to think for a moment what would make the most sense. Given what I've seen in the pyramid, I know what's at stake. And so I would be like, look, we have to all be about whatever this device was meant to do, and we need to shut it down. Excuse me. So I think that is maybe where I would lean toward, I guess. And that might make this the shortest session in the history of Black Lodge Trivia Night. If I go and in 12 minutes later I die. So let's see. So we're gonna take trip C. Let's see what happens. It's gonna take 2 to 3 weeks. What date? I think it's gonna sort of force a date on us, but let's see. It says November. But then it says February. So I'm going to guess that we're just going to make it February of 1932. And we're going to do that because it took a while to get down to the South Pole. So we'll just say that's how long it took. We're going to make it February 1st of 1932. Once over the mountains, Victoria Land seems a single massive plateau. From our flying altitude, we can barely make out the crevices and the windblown sastrugi. I have no idea how to pronounce that word. That proved so treacherous to sled travel. Then we get to the 4th. Party seems at ease. Perhaps I selected the wrong party. Rambo is very quiet, as is Patty Jones. Jeffries works hard setting up camp. On to the 5th. Twice now I've felt an eerie sensation of being watched by something, yet have been unable to detect any watcher. Okay. February 6th. We saw something strange near 120 East longitude, a mountain range with an odd purplish glow beyond. Rambo has decided to push... Rambo, just going with it, has decided to push the Dornier to the limit to reach it. Okay, and now Sunday, February 7th. Great news, we see the remains of a strange city unfathomably old, with eerie towers and enormous roads. Jones thought he saw someone, frozen of course, down on the road. He radioed base to let Blake and Crawford know while we circled the site. We've set down outside the city. Tomorrow, we'll inspect this amazing place. So we get to Monday, February 8th, and we begin our exploration. You realize that the city you have seen so far is only a suburb of a much greater city beyond. In the distance are caverns and towers greater than can be imagined. Go to 542. While Jones is occupied with altimeter readings, Jeffries turns quickly, grins, seemingly straight at you, and to your horror smashes Rambo's head with a huge claw hammer. Stunned, you still notice an odd bulge protruding from Jeffries' jacket as the murderer strides towards the caves. To apprehend the villain, while bearing radio's base and Jones tends to Rambo's body, go to 577. To skulk about waiting for help, go to 574. I'm gonna go in. Again, I don't care about combat. I'm gonna hand wave stuff, whatever. I just don't care. So let's see what happens. You intently pursue Jeffries, but the man has incredible endurance. He pulls further and further ahead. You find yourself stepping into holes in the snow, like the strangely shaped footprints of a bizarre creature. These must be the result of some odd Antarctic phenomenon, you reassure yourself. The towers of the city are close by now. Jeffries enters a street to your left. You follow. Go to 550. At the entrance to the city, Jones catches up with you. Though he knows nothing of the real circumstances, he can carry additional weapons and explosives that you may have brought on the journey. Check your journal to see what's there. Check your journal to see what's there. So we're going to say I've got my guns. Let's say this time we've got dynamite. Not because I'm looking to blow stuff up like in the pyramid, but just in case we needed to clear, like a cave-in or something of ice or, who knows what. I'm obviously talking out of my ass. But so this time we're going to have, my guns, got explosives, etc., etc. So now we're going to go to 543. Congratulations. You've reached the city of the old ones. You think that you see Jeffries heading west. You step into one of those odd footprints and a chill runs down your spine. As you move through the frigid air, you see a mosaic portraying these strange stump-like creatures. Part octopus, part monstrous anemone. Anemone? The scene depicted is of civilized discourse. You notice small ones apparently playing under the watch of a larger one. children and parents. So to look at the streets, go to 547 to head north, 551, or look at the buildings, 575, see map. Okay, so I think we can, we got a portion, okay. Let's bring this map down to the hotbar, just to have it ready to go. And this is what we got, a portion of the city, the old one's map. Let's bump this up a little bit in size. A little something. I was about to say, can you click on these? You might be able to. I know I've said like the hotbar in this software is really powerful. I feel like, and you know, you can do this in Foundry as well. You can put notes on the map that lead to things. But yeah, I think I could just click on something and it'll pop it up. I'm not gonna do it. Okay, so it's an interesting shaped city. We are at, I assume, 543, which is the easternmost entry. And we're going to make our way through. So we can either, let's see, look at the streets. We can just go north from this position. There's, you know, if you're listening, the map is not of like a grid of streets like you would see of like New York City or something. It's very bendy, almost like candy. I'm trying to think of what the candy would be, like not licorice, but like the foot-long candies, fruit by the foot, those kinds of things. And it just bends and sort of interweaves in slight maze-like shapes. And yeah, so it's very flexible looking in terms of the walls and the shapes of the patterns. And let's see. So we are going to, let's look at the streets. 547. The ice on the street seems disturbed. You brush against a mosaic of a stump-like creature leading around some of those ugly masses. Slaves or cattle, it appears. Carry on, go to 546. If you succeed with a spot hidden roll, okay, so they're asking us to try something out here. Go to 560. Let's give it a shot. Spot hidden is one of my better skills. I'm working with a 70. Doesn't say to modify in any way, so I'm just going to do a straight roll. I roll 35, so that's going to be a hard success. Not that it matters. We're going to go to 560. Someone or something runs south, turns a corner, and disappears. Seems to have been intending to go to the northeast. Do you follow? As you decide, you notice an enormous frieze depicting a war between two kinds of beings never before seen by man, and waging wars of incredible cruelty and horror. Do you follow the man? If so, go to 570, and if you do not, you find walls bar your way and return to 552. Yeah, let's follow. Let's see what happens. A huge slab has been opened before you. The pictures around you show barrels of creatures fleeing great turmoil. Enormous slabs of ice seem to be flying from the sky. Some of the barrel creatures seem to have frozen where they stand. Intuitively, you believe the answer is here. Go to 580. If anyone is with you, they lose their nerve and refuse to go further. Yes, somebody is with me. Was it Jones? I forget who it is, but we're just going to say they freak out and they take off. So I'm on my own. Maybe they drop some of the things. So I'm going to say I have the dynamite now and I've got my guns. If you can succeed a combined climb and jump roll, you get down quietly. Fail the roll and you tumble down uncontrollably. So let's give that a shot. Climb is a 20, so I'm probably going to fail that right off the bat, but let's see if I get lucky. I do. 20, but I rolled a 10. So I succeeded there. So now I need a jump roll. And now jump is a skill. Okay. I've said it before. I don't think you need these things differentiated within skills, but I'll do it. It makes me kind of wonder, obviously my D100 system of choice is Mithras. And I kind of wonder how it would work. You know, Mithras has sanity. It has luck points. It doesn't have a luck skill. But you could sort of get around that, I think. And then what do? You could tailor the skills a little better, right? Like certain skills you're going to need. But certain skills you're not, I think. Or you could sort of lump, because Mithras has like knowledge skills. So that could account for like accounting, archaeology, So it could be a little more tailored, I guess. Credit rating seems like a weird skill sometimes, but maybe I haven't played a ton of actual adventures, so maybe it comes into its own there, but I think you could streamline some of these things. I guess it would cover a lot of the same ground, but you could, now that I look at it, might streamline certain things. Maybe, who knows if it would make that much of a difference. I don't know. Anyway. Or maybe, the option is what I was saying last time. Like, it'd be interesting to see like a Call of Cthulhu 8th edition where they just go back to the drawing board to some degree and go all in on more modern mechanics that have come about in the last couple of years, last decade or whatever. Who knows? Just make it a D20 system? No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Okay. But I know, like, I have always thought, like, for a little while, and I still am a huge fan of it, for a while, I was running a couple of Savage Worlds games, and in my head as I was running these games, I'm like, I feel like this system, it has a reputation for being gonzo, blah, 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 but I was like, I bet it could run just about anything. And there's a part of me that would be curious. There is, I have it over here on my shelf, there's Realms of Cthulhu? I think that's Savage Worlds. There's Deadlands Noir. That's, sort of horror investigative. Savage. I don't know. I'd be curious to see how it goes, because I've run investigative games, but they did have some action in them, which is basically, it was Days of Old, which Days of Old, you're basically playing like James Bond monks. So you're meant to be very capable in certain ways. You're not playing an average Joe. But anyway. Okay, so I succeeded at the climb, and now I need to test jump. Jump is also 20, so I'm not expecting to pass this one. I got a 38. I don't have enough luck. So I'm going to go tumbling down uncontrollably. A sudden unspeakable dread consumes you. Before you, within the pit, a blasphemy of tentacles, claws, and utter horror resides. It has a name. Oh, damn you, Call of Cthulhu names. Gantanathal. No. Gatanathoa. Gatanathoa. Make a sanity roll and lose 1d10/1d100 sanity points. Okay, so basically, if I pass the sanity roll, I lose 1d10. If I fail, I'm going to lose a d100. Sanity's on the main tab here, so how am I doing with sanity? Not amazing. I'm down to 32, so let's see how it goes. 32, and I roll, I can't see, roll a 98, so I failed, so now we're going to roll a d100 and lose that much sanity. This actually, I only lose 14. I was going to say this could put me in the ground. 14, so from 32 is 18 left. Can I just type that in? Great. Okay. Let's take a look at this thing. Nope. Didn't mean to do that. I don't know. A realization check. I don't know quite what I clicked. Let's definitely make this thing bigger. It's hard to... I guess, like, the tentacles below, maybe, are part of the creature, and the thing up ahead is also part of the creature. For those listening, there's, like, tentacles below, they look sort of like veins, and it's a black and white picture. And it looks like there's an arm on the left side with its pinky out in a very posh way of throwing a stick of dynamite. And then in the background is sort of like this, looks like a bipedal creature, but it's basically like two legs, but the top is just a giant, shaped like a little bit like a light bulb with tentacles and things protruding out of it, but it's in shadow, so there's actually not much detail. So a festering mass seems like the festering mass turns towards you, waving its 100 tentacles in the air as if in some mocking welcome. As you choke out a scream, you feel your flesh begin to tighten and go rigid as an unnatural paralysis takes hold. Then the gigantic bubble mass creature comes. Bloated, things covered, eyes, and yawning maws. You remember them from the mosaics. If you have the rose-colored amulet, you have only a moment to touch it before you turn to stone. If you have only the ring, the bubble creature seems to respect the power and leave it untouched. Okay, so let me see. I don't know if I have the amulet. I definitely have the ring. The amulet doesn't sound familiar. I have the ring of the undead, but I guess not the rose-colored amulet. Or if I do, I just totally forgot. So, what that means is, if you have only the ring, the bubble creature seems to respect its power and leave it untouched, but the same is not true for you, as you are enveloped and torn apart. It is the end. Okay, so... So I'm trying to decide. So going back to entry 580, which is where it said, like, do the combined climb and jump roll. If you succeed now, attempt a luck and no. I didn't succeed, so I didn't attempt the luck and no. So then it says if you succeeded with both the combined climb and jump and the luck and no, go one place. If you failed any of the rolls, go to another. If you failed 2 or more, go to 567. So I'm not entirely sure. Let's see what 567 is. I guess it's, yeah, I guess you're a little better prepared for what you fall and have to deal with, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. So, yeah, this is the end. Ernest Holt dies. The ring is sort of left there in the Antarctic. Again, the creature, Gtanothoa respects its power and leaves it alone. I don't have time to throw dynamite according to the entries. I could have thrown dynamite if I had succeeded in some of the rolls. I did not, though. I do not have the rose amulet, which I don't actually recall. I'm going to pull out my book really quickly and just see if there's a quick way, like in the back, is there like equipment or something? Just so I can figure out, like, would I have had the rose amulet? But I'm going to assume I don't even know. You know what? I have this on PDF, but yeah, so that's it. That's, again, I said this could be a short session. I'm going to keep going a little bit more, but I think that is going to be the canonical ending. Ernest Holt, he investigated the hell out of it as far as he could, got to Antarctica, and still could not be ready for what he faced, which I think is a very appropriate Call of Cthulhu ending. Now, what you could do is, according to the book, you then fire up the next investigator and you keep going. The problem I have with that is twofold. Like, one, I feel like this is, we lose. This is the kind of story of a Cthulhu game. Like, we lose. It's not like we're now going to go back and win. Maybe this way, if this was interesting to you, it's still potentially interesting to go and play it for yourself. I won't spoil the ending, I guess, on some level. But, and the other thing is, again, this feels like a natural stopping point. 2, I can't think of a single reason why the next PC would pick up and carry on the story. Like, yeah, I just need to hop a charter to the South Pole. Like, it just doesn't make any sense that the next character would pick it up from this point. I feel like once you head out to Antarctica, you've sort of crossed the Rubicon, and the story goes where it goes, and that's sort of your last shot. I don't know if that's meant to be that way in the book. Maybe it says that and I just missed it, or I'm not remembering. But that's how I'm sort of taking it. So, yeah, what I am kind of curious about, though, I'm going to go back just a little bit. So we die at the hands of Ganatothoa or something. What I'm curious about is going back just a little bit. Like, what if you just set up... I'm just curious. I'm just going to see what happens if you set up a camp. Takes you back to 574. Oh, okay. And that ends up being some kind of failure. And then if you go, like, to the other area of mountains, you end up at 574. So basically, okay, so... Spoiler alert. If you go to A or B, basically if you don't follow the railroad, the game ends. And I think... I don't mind spoiling that, because I imagine if you were playing it, you wouldn't be just like, oh, well. I think you'd be like, okay, screw that. I'm going to just take C and follow that route. Because, again, this is going to lead into some thoughts about this adventure as a whole. And we'll see how it goes and how long I can talk about it. I'm already losing my voice for some reason. Again, 20 minutes and... so it makes, again, it feel like another branching path that's a false choice. And that's, I think, sort of what I brought up a few times during this playthrough. I think it definitely came up last session, but I don't specifically recall when. But certain choices are not choices. I know one time I had a choice where, like, roll this, and if you pass, you still fail. And there were a couple of different choices in the same entry, I think. Which, to me, I was like, why are you making me roll skills where I can pass and then still saying no? This is a thing where it's like, they give you 3 choices, but 2 of them are just dead ends that don't mean anything. I think you need to leave them out. I don't know what the right move is, because let's get into it. This is a solo RPG that's structured unlike a lot of the ones I've done before. The One Ring 2nd Edition. Entity was very procedural, but it was still not prescribed, if that makes sense. Like, Rune is not really this kind of RPG. It's more like a tactical board game. But Dragonbane, the One Ring 2nd Edition, those are the main ones I can remember using, like, an Oracle system. What an Oracle system is going to allow you to do is it's going to give you flexibility. It's going to give you the ability to roll with the punches narratively and keep things going, keep things interesting. But at the same time, it puts a lot of the onus on you as the player to come up with the mortar that holds all the bricks together, right? Or come up with the bricks that the Oracle system acts as a mortar to stick together. Maybe that's the more unnecessarily complicated metaphor. So here, with this style of RPG, it really gives you the opportunity to experience a story. When you're making up the story, in my mind, I'm not experiencing it the same way, like with an Oracle system. When I'm creating the story, it's a different... It feels like a different set of muscles that I'm stretching. They're very satisfying in both cases. The One Ring and Dragonbane solo were both a ton of fun. And I really enjoyed both. Immensely. And especially in, like, the One Ring 2nd Edition, I felt like the world was entirely at my disposal. I felt like I could basically do anything and go anywhere, and I would be able to generate an RPG story. I would do skill check. Like, it felt genuinely like a GM-less, near equivalent to the core experience. Dragonbane, I look up because all my stuff's over there. Dragonbane is a little more prescribed, because what they do, at least in the ones I looked at, is it's usually like 5 or 6 steps, because Dragonbane's a little bit more of a dungeon crawl, right? It's not meant to be the scope of the world or whatever. So
They set you up with a beginning. I can't remember if they set you up with an end. They might give you one step in the middle, and then you fill in how to get from A to B to C at the end. So that's but it still does require like an oracle to help you flesh things out, come up with room descriptions to sort of create the picture of the dungeon while you play. And then you get kind of a decent dungeon crawl experience, again, sort of GM-less, but adjacent to, in my mind, the core experience. This might actually be the right way to present a solo Call of Cthulhu adventure, because in my mind, and this is gonna sound harsh, because Call of Cthulhu, and the reason why we had our like breaking up episode, it always feels like it has the reputation, and again, this is us doing it wrong, but it has the reputation of like, you know, you fail and then you're stuck, right? And so then that creates the whole gumshoe movement with I'm looking at my collection over here and I don't see it at the moment, but I've got like Knight's Black Agent, Fall of Delta Green. I'm trying to remember what the Gumshoe Cthulhu was, but anyway, it sort of creates that as a response, right? So in some ways, I feel like this elicited the kind of frustrations that people may erroneously feel with Call of Cthulhu, or have the prejudiced opinions Call of Cthulhu brings to the table, right? Like, that's the kind of game Call of Cthulhu is. You just get stuck. And when we were playing our Call of Cthulhu Modern Scritch Scratch, I think at the end of it, we were talking about it. I don't know if it was Matt. I don't know how it came up, but you feel like you get sort of locked into these things and it's just not important, or it really funnels you in a way that feels restrictive. And the choose your own adventure style of this adventure, I think, actually captures that potentially negative aspect that people believe Call of Cthulhu has. At the same time, though, it also captured for me what I love about Call of Cthulhu in the times I've played it. It's the idea that you are on a bit of a railroad, but that railroad is just a well-crafted little mystery, and it's going to have horror elements of like cosmic proportions, and it's going to genuinely give you that kind of experience. The best, I forget what it was. I think it was called The Auction. I've done 2 adventures. One involved a lighthouse, and one was called, I think, The Auction, and played them both over VTT. Well, no, the second one had no VTT. We just did it over cameras, and they had physical. It was actually a lot of fun. We had physical items from the game to open at certain times, and you're very much meant to do certain things, in my experience in Call of Cthulhu Adventures, and you end up where you're supposed to end up, and sometimes you get stuck when you screw up skill checks. And I think, for what little it's worth, I think this choose your own adventure model sort of highlights the good and the bad of what a lot of adventures bring to the table. So I think I really strongly recommend trying this. And as you can see, if you have Fantasy Grounds, you can pick it up and you're ready to go. Or buy the book, buy the PDFs. You're going to need the PDFs unless you're going to chop up your book or you have a photocopier. Just give it a shot, because you could probably do it like in a long afternoon. I know I talked too much and I went through character creation. I showed off a couple of VTTs. But I think there's a lot here to really like. I think it creates an experience that the Oracle systems just can't match, but it comes with its own frustrations. Just be aware of that. And you're going to have to potentially wing some things. At least I have to have it make sense. I don't care about how many investigators it takes me to get through. I just whatever. So I was never going to keep score. I was never going to engage in full-blown combat. But in the end of the day, I really liked it. So what I had thought about doing next, and I had been hinting at this as we went, was giving this style of Call of Cthulhu adventure a chance in another VTT. I don't know when. I've been using this as I mentioned at the top of this session, when we can't figure out the recording, whether it's schedules or we're just too burned out or whatever it is, when we just can't get a session recorded, I wanted to have a backup ready to go. That's often why I've had the solo games going, as, something to keep the stream going, keep the sessions coming out, stay consistent. Because if it's just me, you can see it's broad daylight, it's early, morning. I can just jam this out before I have anything real to do. And I wasn't expecting to be this short, though, I'll say that. I had blocked out a little more time, but you know what I'm saying, right? So that's the reason why I do a lot of these solo things. And, if the other guy, I know Patrick started Starforged. If the other guys, want to do so, it's whatever. But I have it at the ready if we need it to keep the sessions consistent. So I'd wanted to try this style of adventure out in another VTT because I know the starter box for Call of Cthulhu is available on Alchemy. And so I was like, I'll give it a try on Alchemy. I don't really, at the moment, my experiences with Alchemy have not been all that fun. But I was like, okay, I'll try it and see how it goes. But at the time of this recording, Chaosium has just announced that they're going to start releasing official material for Foundry VTT, which I love. So when the time comes for me to do another solo RPG session, I'm going to do the adventure that comes with the starter kit, the solo adventure that comes with the starter kit in Foundry VTT. I know we've already looked at some of what that rule set can do, but we'll give it a shot where we do the whole thing in Foundry. And this is what I'm going to say. I feel a little bad about this. I genuinely really enjoyed getting a chance to dive back into Fantasy Grounds. It's one of the older guard among the VTTs. I tried to use it as one of the first things that I ran online, and it did not go amazingly well. And I think a lot of that was my fault. And I like seeing it in action. I like giving it a chance to work. I like playing around with it. But it's not Foundry. Foundry, I think, is still my main go-to VTT. And I think if the options are there where I have to choose, where I can choose, I'll say that, where I can choose between Foundry and Fantasy Grounds, I'm going to choose Foundry just about every time. So I love the fact that Foundry is getting more official love. I genuinely love it, but it makes me a little sad because now I don't know if I'll pull out Fantasy Grounds the next time I run a Call of Cthulhu. I might say, oh, what's going on with Call of Cthulhu in Foundry? It's just, you know what, everybody has their preference. It's just what I use more. It's what I've grown accustomed to. As you saw, if you watched this whole run, I used it to get me out of a jam. I used Foundry to get me out of a jam with the pyramid map because I just knew how to figure it out, right? That's just how it is. That's just how it's the software I learned. It's not better. It's not worse. Categorically speaking, it's just for what I do and what I've learned to use. That's how it is. So overall, I thought this was a great implementation of this adventure and the Call of Cthulhu system here in Fantasy Grounds. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking to run Call of Cthulhu in a VTT. But otherwise, I think I'm just going to stop. It's going to be, like I said, it's like the world's shortest session. It's, a little bit of review, only 20 minutes of gameplay. It puts a bow on Alone Against the Dark. I have no idea what happens if you beat it. If you get the dynamite out, I genuinely have no idea. So hopefully if you enjoyed this, that'll inspire you to pick up a copy and maybe you can make your way all the way to the end. In my case, the world got destroyed and everybody died. So you're welcome, Earth. I crushed it. I assume the poles flipped, things melted, and cosmic horror ensued. So there you go. I want to thank everybody who's checked this out. I really appreciate it. I had a great time playing this. I always appreciate everybody who checks these things out, leaves comments. If you like, subscribe. It's always great. because if you're watching this, you've already found our YouTube channel. There's also audio versions of this, so just search for Black Lodge Trivia Night where you get your podcasts. We should show up there. Want to jump into the Discord? You can. We talk about RPGs, CRPGs. That's mostly it. And yeah. So hopefully we'll be back. Like I said, the plan wasn't to do another session of this so soon. It's just the way it worked out. People get really busy, and there's nothing you can do. So hopefully we'll be back soon with a rotation, which is going to be Matt starting Symbaroum and my Mithras Imperative Cold War spy game. We're moving to sort of part B, which is the players go to Finland and track down the next part of the story. So thanks again to everybody who checked this out. Hope you keep watching. Thanks again. Take care.
The music during the RPG session in Foundry was provided by the Foundry module Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find his Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music, all one word.